Evening, everybody. Counselor Goodwin here. I'm back. It's been a while since I've done a video, and not because we haven't covered much stuff. Really, it's been quite broadly broadcasted, and there's been a lot of information out, and a lot of my fellow counselors and a lot of the members of the public have been keeping up. So I do apologize for being a little bit incognito, but here I am. Today was a marathon. It is 9:30 in the evening and I just got home. I'll go over everything we talked about today rather quickly because I will get to a large announcement and the discussion points in my mind as to where the decision came from and what it means. So we talked about the utility reserve health. It's looking good. We've got some fiscal responsibility, and keep that in mind. That's going to come later in our discussion here. But the reserves are all pointing towards less major capital projects, more money coming in from the city. So ideally, it is looking good, and hopefully that plays out. There was a couple of rezoning that were minimal, no public interaction. Greater Downtown Governance Committee rolled out their they're gonna have historic downtown, Capstone, Parkvale, and rail yards. It's gonna involve a counselor, a member from 4 business reps, one economic business org, so like Drive or the Red Deer District Chamber of Commerce, or I believe it was tourism. They're going to kind of rotate through, so I thought, yeah, that makes some sense. And there's a really good point made by Councillor Cron. These are the people who show up with now the vision of what downtown can be and the future. So I liked the way he put that. That I thought was terrific. There was a long discussion about supportive living accommodation direction, and we had voted to get basically more information, and I ended up having to step out, so I don't want to speak to the last few minutes and anything like that around that one. Uh, there was also a discussion around the utility bylaw amendment. And what it was to kind of catch us up from a bylaw perspective to what it is we do as a city already, and then get us moving forward with the smart meters as they're known. There was some really good language in there around user generation and streamlining the process for people to apply for that. There was a good discussion about what does it take to apply for an upgrade. So for instance, if you have 100 amp power in your house, what's the cost and what's the application process to get 200 amp? And is there any plans for the city to help catch that up? Again, good information, starts to bring us into the future a little bit. And ultimately, I think that kind of covers off the briefly, and I do apologize. I know there's some of these issues that are extremely important to people, and I don't mean to be just skipping over them. But again, it was a long day, and the big announcement came out of what the options are for the emergency response services and maintaining integrated. There was a decision tree. The package has a really great layout of everything that was in front of us. We went back and forth a lot. We were in closed for quite a bit, then we had got out of closed, and then we had to go back into closed. A lot of what was discussed was maintaining that service. And in my mind, we have an aging demographic. We have a growing population, and we really do offer top tier care. It matters. And while normally I would not vote to spend more money, this is some future dollars that we have allocated. And my original proposal was kind of a hybrid of, do you just fully keep what you've got and fund the gap? And something that Councillor Barnstable brought was, how can we do some negotiations and here's a fixed amount that we're willing to bring? I had brought a hybrid where we want to keep advanced life support on ambulances. Obviously, that's not in question. I do want to clarify that for everybody. There was never a question of whether advanced life support was going to be maintained in your ambulances. It's whether or not it was going to be maintained in the fire trucks as well. What we ended up voting for, well, okay, I'll give you my hybrid, and I know I don't want to sound like sour grapes, but it was a little bit surprising. I proposed that there was a cap of a 1% tax increase and work to keep advanced care on all apparatus, but only one. Right now, if you have a fire truck show up, you may very well have 3 or 4 advanced care paramedics plus the 2 that are going to show up in the ambulance. That is, while tremendous, and I'm sure that has saved a lot of lives. It's by far and away gold plated. And my proposal was to say, okay, you have a dollar cap for the negotiations, and part of the negotiations is to keep one, which maintains the minimum definition of advanced life care for any apparatus, fire, and ambulance. It was an odd split. Some people actually made the statement that we weren't spending enough with that, and then other people said, no, you're spending too much. So it was a distribution, and that is how it goes. So what we ended up doing is narrowly we voted to support maintaining services as is and funding the difference, which means, and I will reiterate something that Councillor Barnstable stated, city staff came to us with the most financially responsible, controlled options. We have been touting financial responsibility as part of our term direction as a super high priority inside of it. There are more priorities that tie in together, and this is one of those cases where not any one of them gets to win out very clearly. This ultimately, the spend that is going forward, it's not going to be realized until later, possibly next year, but in order to maintain that fiscal responsibility, we as a city, we're going to have to find a chunk of that money somewhere else. I'm not comfortable with putting a big tax increase. Now, and when I say a big tax increase, I'll find the numbers and I'll put them in the comments. It's maybe a couple $100 a year on the average household. Not even. No, don't take that. That was me talking out loud. I will go find the numbers that on the average household, what that actually means. Or if somebody else has it and plunks it in, I'd appreciate it. Thank you so much. I got overwhelmingly large numbers of support letters for it's. People see what it costs and they're willing to pay it. This is the sort of thing that, as I said earlier, we have an aging demographic, we have a growing population. These types of things won't get felt next year, the year after, the year after. But when you get into 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, that's when it really is going to negatively impact the community. This I see as a vote to maintain life-saving services across the board. And just as important, I had an instance, well, several times, all the way from the campaign to up to the last couple weeks, where the men and women on the front line have told me since probably 2019, they have not had a time where they're just allowed to show up to work, do their job, be effective, go home. There was the COVID thing, there was the safe staffing thing, there was a couple things that popped up before I had been involved. And then this, and all of a sudden the province decides to download a $3 million savings for them onto us. This is going to give them a little reassurance, a little bit of chance to just go to work and do the great job, provide the great service that they do. So I do have mixed emotions, mixed feelings around where we landed in terms of how much it's going to cost. However, I don't have any mixed emotions or any concern with the fact that I know comfortably when I call an ambulance or I call a fire department, the service I'm going to get is absolutely top shelf in the province. So that's a long one. A long day, which means you get a short video. Rarity. And I do appreciate everybody, and I hope you have a terrific evening, and looking forward to the long weekend. It looks like it might be kind of nice out. I hope you get a chance to spend time with your family, your friends, get out, enjoy everything that Red Deer has to offer, and have a wonderful week. And I will talk to you all soon. Thank you.